Welcome to Surbs Diner. Today, we're going over 28 years later. My expectations with this film were kind of high. I really enjoyed 28 Days Later. You know, the intensity of the film, how real it felt because of the way it's shot, and also the world and the characters and the way people kind of realistically, unfortunately, acted in the film. Going into 28 Weeks Later, obviously, the intro to that movie is a masterpiece. And while the rest is a little bit of a letdown, it still has the same sort of vibe to the whole film. But 28 years later, while still being intense to begin with, it kind of gets really strange. And this could be like the editing, the camera work, the sound design, the choices of the story. There's a lot happening in this film that's like, was that good? I'm not really sure if that was good. It's not approaching the same sort of story that is part of 1 and 2, which I appreciate. It's something unique, something new, which is kind of the whole film, is unique editing, camera angles, sound design. But I feel like it's a film where if you go in it with expectations of what came before, you're kind of going to be disappointed. This is a film that deserves to be seen without expecting anything. And I think going into it like that, it might be a better experience. For now, I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm just not sure yet how I really feel about it. So let's go ahead and get into the spoilers. So like I said, expectations going into this movie were high. 28 days and 28 weeks later, especially when it comes to the intro of 28 weeks, it was really grounded, really intense, and the way that it's shot, a lot of the first film is shot with a handheld camera, 480p, very raw, and it makes it feel like the whole movie is not a cinematic experience, but rather it's something that actually is happening, like somebody's there filming it. We don't really ever get shots of the zombies that are clear. The mystery of it just helps with like the fear and the unknown, and especially with how fast they are. This is something you always want to avoid. And then the intro to I love the intro to 28 Weeks Later. It is probably one of the best intros ever made. But as far as the rest of the film goes, I mean, there's experimentations with slow-mo, there's night vision shots, first-person shots. There's a lot of stuff that still makes it feel like you're there, even though I don't really like the story at that point in 28 Weeks Later. But the way that it's filmed, it just adds to the realism. Like, it's actually happening. You're not really watching the movie at this point. But I feel like that's all abandoned going into 28 years later. Even the story. We leave off on 28 Weeks Later with the virus in France. You know, it's right there in Paris. And we start off 28 years later, and all of a sudden, no, yeah, that's all taken care of. That was nothing. They abandoned that, which is fine. That's probably what 28 months later was about. We never got that film. But I was kind of confused, like, how is this thing still only in the UK? Apparently, 28 years, it's only in the UK, the British Isles. When we see clearly in 28 Days Later, it's infected birds, right? The blood of birds, and birds can fly. And I'm pretty sure birds can fly from the UK to continental Europe, and they'll die, and animals will eat them. Other animals, and then I don't understand. Like, people will eat them. I feel like it's not just going to be in France. Like, the birds will be everywhere. So as I watch this movie, I feel like the realism just off the start is kind of dropping a little bit. And not only is it the story, but it continues right into the camera work. Most of the movie was shot on an iPhone, and I felt like they were going to go back to the same sort of thing. Handheld, a lot of moving shots, just higher quality than it was 28 Days. But they did not do that. They went in a whole different artistic direction. We almost got no shots where it's like a handycam shaking footage. But rather, we got a lot of blurred shots, we got a lot of aberrated shots, shots where the color's distorted, a bunch of unique shots, and that includes the editing. There's a lot of splicing, there's a lot of quick cutaways to just a glimpse of something, and you don't really like register it in your brain. It's probably like a subliminal sort of thing. And then they had this unique thing where they had a bunch of cameras lined up for kill shots, and it would hit it and then quickly go and then stop and then show the footage again, and it was like a semi-Matrix, but really sped up sort of thing. And I'm just watching this, and I'm like, is this working? Is this good? I just don't know. For sure, it's unique. For sure, films don't really do this. But I think I have a reason for all this, and I think I know what they're going for. We'll get to that in a bit. But just on first glance, it's like, this is weird. What are they doing? It goes with sound design as well. There's so many different sounds being added. It can be really good. It can add to the fear. There's great fear. There's great intense moments. But all those intense moments are surrounded by like, huh? Is that what's supposed to be happening? Is this I don't think this is a realistic movie anymore. There's a lot of scenes in this actually that I feel like take away from the realism. A large part of 28 Days and 28 Weeks was it felt real, it felt grounded. You know, we were there. We're not watching a movie. We're watching an actual outbreak, and the people suck, and we have to deal with terrible people in a terrible world. And then we get into this movie, and there's kind of like it deals with different topics, which is great. Kind of reminds me of what Steven Spielberg said when he was working on The Lost World, and I'm going to paraphrase, but basically at some point it gets to the point where it's like we're just killing people with dinosaurs. You know, we're just what more is there to this film? You know, dinosaurs kill people. Jurassic Park 3, dinosaurs kill people. What's our story here? And you could say the same thing for 28 Days and 28 Weeks later. It's like, okay, zombies kill people, people kill people. Where do we go? Which I appreciate that they weren't willing to go in that direction. Alex Garland, he has definitely gone places in his career, especially story-wise with the movies he's worked on. So, you know, he's not going to want to go back to zombies kill people. So we get 28 years later, and there's a lot of unrealistic stuff. I thought like the chimney scene, where the chimney just happens to collapse, and they have to escape. It's a good scene overall for, you know, intensity and not to relax, you know, not to set any guards down. But that's the first little point where it's like story-wise, okay. And then you have, I believe, the Swedish guards that arrive, the military, and all of them die except for one. And then that one military guy happens to find the kid and his mom at the right exact time. It's like, okay, that's a kind of a coincidence. You know, coincidences happen in movies, but when they happen over and over and over, it gets to the point where it's like, okay, this is not, you know, realism at this point. And that's kind of what, you know, I feel like 28 Days and 28 Weeks was kind of trying to be, like, realism, zombie outbreak. No slow zombies, these things kill you. And the fact that zombies starve and they die after just weeks, and yet we're 28 years and there's still so many zombies. How? How are there so many zombies still if they're dying? Like, I know they're eating animals and stuff, but is there really that many animals? Maybe. But, yeah, the guard finds the kid and the mom at the same time, sets the fire. The fire doesn't kill them. And it just goes right on top. I guess the gas rises. Maybe that's realistic. I don't know. Maybe I could buy that if it was just like a one-off thing. But then we get to the train scene, and this is just kind of blows realism out the door for me when it comes to this film. It's like, we have the pregnancy, cool, unique, okay, I can buy that. And then the guard turns on them, and then it's like, how are you going to get out of this? And then the Alpha shows up. Okay, coincidence. Okay, cool, alright, sure. And kills, at the just exact moment, kills the guard, or the military guy. And it's like, okay, that's kind of convenient again. And then how are they going to get away from them? And then the doctor shows up at that exact moment. And it's just like convenience after convenience after convenience after convenience. And at this point, it's like, okay, well, you know, I could buy the Alpha. The Alpha is a cool concept. Some of them evolve. Maybe they have bigger brains. There's obviously a human element still with the zombies. Maybe their souls are still intact in a sort of way, even though at the beginning we say their souls are gone. There's a whole part of this movie about souls. But yeah, the realism is out the door at this point. So it's like, okay, we no longer have the movie we had before. We're going in a different direction. And then we get to the core of the story, which is the kid Spike and him dealing with his mother and you know, his relationship with her and trying to do what's best for her and willing to sacrifice everything and leave it all behind, leave his village behind, leave his dad behind. Obviously, he doesn't view his dad in a good way, and try to get his mom to the doctor, and then everything kind of like turns around where he realizes, yes, she has cancer. Everybody knew she had cancer. They didn't want to tell him. But I feel like there's a moment that's unearned because the doctor puts the kid to sleep and then, well, not really to sleep, makes him drowsy, and then cremates the mom, which I feel like maybe the kid should just have made the decision to accept that on his own than kind of forcing him to. I felt like that was a little weird. I know, like, accepting death, remembrance, memento mori is a huge part of this movie, which I appreciate, you know. A kid trying to grow through that and accept that. It's a hard thing to do. But the kid didn't really have a choice in this film, so I feel like it was stolen from him a little bit by the doctor. And then after it happened, it was like, okay, acceptance and putting the skull at the top of the tower. But now we have Spike, and he's in a whole different mental place than when he started. I'm not even sure he fears death at this point. He's just living out there, being on his own, trying to be maybe the Doctor 2.0. Who knows? For me personally, it's okay. It's okay. You know, with films, we all connect to different things. We all connect to different stories, and I didn't really connect with this one too much in a way, which is fine. There other people could connect very deeply with that core story. You know, a coming of age story. It works. But then we get to the end. Let's talk about the end. And I think this is where it all came together for me in my head. Because we meet Jimmy, who, you know, there's essence of Jimmy throughout the whole thing. And I believe Jimmy and the Jamettes, or whatever they're going to call themselves, they're like action ninja heroes doing flips with all their different weapons. This definitely is at the point where it's like, okay, this is a little crazy. This isn't realistic. All right, maybe it is realistic. I don't know. We don't have a zombie outbreak here. Maybe there are people who will try to be crazy like that. But I believe they also kill humans as well. Maybe bad humans. Maybe humans that betray them. I don't know. Because we got the guy that was hanging upside down. But it took me a second to realize that, okay, this movie, not only is it unrealistic, I think I know what it's going for. And it's actually, I believe, going for like a graphic novel style sort of film. Like gritty, but stylized. Like ninjas can happen, right? Things are coincidence, because that's what a graphic novel is kind of happening. We got different shots, we got the cutaways, we got the quick, like cool little short kills that kind of happen. And I when I put it all together, it's like, yeah, they're not going for realism like they did in 28 weeks, in 28 days. They're more going for graphic novel, kind of cool, kind of action-packed, still dark, still realistic, but in a graphic novel sense. But that's totally the vibe I'm getting after seeing that ending. It's like, yeah, they changed it up. They're not doing the same things anymore. They don't want to do the same. They don't want to tell the same story. They don't want to tell the same realistic. They just want to go for it, and they want to have fun with it. And I think, like, after this movie ended, it's like, was that good? Was that not good? Was the camera's angles good? Was the editing good? Was the sound design good? Was the story good? Was everything that happened? I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I do gotta wait, like, weeks to sit on this, and maybe like, okay, maybe that was good. I'm not sure, but I know for sure I'm looking forward to the sequel, because now I know, okay, they're doing like a graphic novel sort of thing, right? It's going to be stylized. There's going to be action moments. There's going to be crazy stuff. So going into the sequel, which comes out like next year, I think it's already filmed and everything. They're definitely going for a fun vibe, even though it's a horror film. You know, horror films can be fun, and I think they did really want to change it up, because you don't want to make the same movie 3, 4, 5, 6 times. They want to make this a trilogy, so we're going to have 5 movies. If all 3 of these movies were the exact same as 28 days, 28 weeks, it's going to get boring. So I can't wait to see the next one, even though I don't know how I feel about this one, because we're not really in the same world anymore. we've changed world. And we know Cillian Murphy, he's going to come back with a big role in the second one and a major role in the third one. And his name's Jim. So Jimmy, is he going to be like a god to them? Where is he? Why is he still there? Like, it's so like, why is he still there? It's also this whole coincidence thing, but this is what happens in like graphic novels and like comic books and stuff. It's like people show up that shouldn't really show up, but it's cool that they show up, you know? We gotta view these movies in a different lens, I think, going into the sequels. I think they'll be fun. I think they'll be good. Just as long as we don't have the same expectations as we did when we entered 28 years later. You know, we changed our expectations to like, okay, this is going to be interesting for sure. So yeah, can't wait. I don't know how I feel about this movie. 3 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to be thinking about this movie for a long time, and I don't know. We'll see how the sequel goes. I think it will be a lot better under new expectations. Not saying this one's not good, but we'll see. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you tomorrow.